All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another exciting episode of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. All right, folks, the rest of the world is talking about what a ridiculous human being Donald Trump is. The only people not talking about it is the people who can actually do something about it here in America. And I'm talking about the Republican Congress. They have the House, Senate, although albeit a slim majority in the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency, and of course, they own the Supreme Court. They own six justices on the Supreme Court. So those are the actual human beings that can do something about it. But in the meantime, we're the laughing stock of the world. But what I love is how Davos is handling President Trump. Everyone there is treating him like the outcast and buffoon that he is. Brock and Ellis joins me now live. Brock, we're just a couple of guys with what streaming capabilities that are trying to take a look at the world through the Black community and the Jewish American community as we continue to try to maneuver the fascist authoritarian regime that is Donald Trump 2.0. The Davos scene, Donald Trump walking on a red carpet by himself, was the funniest thing I've seen in the 10 years that he's been fucking up our political system. What say you, my friend?
Yeah, no one wanted to be in the screen with him, right? No one.
No?
Look, Newsom set the tone a little yesterday. Told Europe they had to be tougher with Trump, and I think we definitely, Mark Carney at Canada yesterday gave a strong speech, but he basically said,
Mhm.
"Hey, the world order's changed, and we're moving away from America." That was a terrible sign for us. But today,
Horrible.
Europe came united, and they kind of stared Trump down, right? He walked away from his invade Greenland, fantasies. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they showed a tougher front to him. He was a maniacal, off the charts idiocy and mental decline in full effect to the world today. It's what
Yeah.
everyone around the world is talking about and seeped into our media a little bit. Our media has decided that it's normalized, and the fact that we have a psychopathic, malignant narcissist with dementia is just sort of par for the course and not a
Yep.
news story anymore.
Yeah.
But the world got a heavy dose of it today, and they're looking at us going, "What the fuck you guys doing over there?"
Yeah. Yeah. Gavin Newsom was masterful. Gavin Newsom called him a T-Rex. Said, you either you either kill it or mate with it. There's no two ways around it. The guy is a freaking psychopath, and you have to deal with him as such. I don't understand what
And
people are waiting
let me
for.
jump in. Your
Yeah.
sound's a little low, but he's also an idiot, right? Like he's telling them on all that if we didn't win, we American didn't come in to win World War II, everyone would be speaking German. While he's in Switzerland that already speaks German.
I mean,
I
right?
mean, he called Greenland Iceland like multiple times and just confused everyone in the room as to what the fuck, where he was even, you know,
Yeah.
where his attention was, right? And he slurs his speech like he just sounds like someone who's not all there. We've seen it and been talking about it for years now. Like this
Yeah.
didn't sneak up on us. But between the press conference yesterday and the performance today, we just proved to the world that we're being led by a lunatic, and they continue to wonder what when the day comes that we addressed in essence our problem that we've exported to them.
Right. You know, the brilliance of the rest of the world is amazing now that, we've got this what if who called them a daughter? Was it Kim Jong Un? Somebody from overseas called him a dotard. You know, it
A
was
doddering
just
old man, like the doddering old man.
yeah, like just an unflattering insult, and I loved it. Man, my mind's playing tricks on me, but nonetheless, you know, the rambling, ineffective, just pointless speech that he gave today in Davos was just ridiculous. The fact that he can't get Greenland and Iceland correct, the fact that he's such a low IQ president, and it's like watching a Rolls Royce when you hear, Carney or someone from, Canada's prime minister, and then, now you're seeing a bread and butter mobile with Donald Trump. you know, and the rest of the world is looking at Americans. They're not looking at Trump. He's the one that played us. We got played. The rest of the world is saying, "What the fuck's wrong with you, American people? You didn't see this guy coming? Yeah, we saw him coming, right? But we're so fucking racist and so fucking afraid of a more fair, more just, more culturally inclusive society that we voted this clown in. And now we got people out here brutalizing American citizens because of it.
Yeah, they're watching the videos of brutality on our streets. Just one other point, just on the Trump idiocy, is he's also, of course, berating NATO while he's in his speech, calling NATO the enemy, and also stating, totally factually wrong, that NATO has never done anything for America because he doesn't fucking know, because he didn't pay attention his whole
Because
life,
he didn't
and he's
read
such an
anything. He
idiot
doesn't read
that
anything
they answered our call after 9/11. NATO
every time.
came to our defense, sent troops to the Middle East. They could have easily argued that was not their war. It was our war of choice after we were attacked. They stood by our side, sent troops, and they all had troops die in those hills of Afghanistan and those
Yep.
fucking urban centers in Iraq. And Trump's there today in 2026 telling them that NATO has never done anything for America. When
Yeah.
when the Article 5 call was given, they answered that call. So it's an embarrassment to us as people because the citizens of those countries know what they did for us.
Right.
And they're hearing our president over there totally discounting it, pretending like it didn't happen, gaslighting them in the way that he's gaslit us for a decade.
Absolutely.
You know,
And
they're
here's the thing, Brock.
disappointed. They're rightfully disappointed.
Yeah, and your boy couldn't tell us what Article 5 is, right? He doesn't know what it is because he's not well read. He's not well versed in anything. He's not an expert at anything. He's not even good at real estate. He blew his $400 million fortune that daddy left him. Daddy was constantly bailing him out. So, his quest for approval just reminds us of how shallow he is. But let's turn the page and let's get back to ICE and what they're doing and how they're brutalizing our people in Minnesota. And hats off to Minnesotans, right? Mid-January, they're outside every day in mass. In mass. It's a shame that the media won't cover it the way it should be covered so we can understand the enormity of what they're doing. But here's the other thing, Brock. Have we seen video of one single gang member arrest? Have we seen any video of one single dope house broken up? One single video of a violent criminal being taken off the streets? No. Brock, you know what we're watching? We're watching people who are contributing to the American experiment and the American way of life being brutalized, snatched off the streets. People who are living in well-kept, nice homes now have to deal with the issue of these brown shirts running in their home without a warrant, right? Because this government, this regime wants to be able to do anything they say they want to do. It is absolutely horrific. Now, that one of the top stories today is the fact that they want to be able to go into your home without a warrant and just, blow your doors down. You know why? Because they're tired of people citing the law to them. No, you cannot come in here without a legal warrant signed by a judge.
I mean, what country are we in, right? I mean, these are fundamental rights in
Exactly.
America, right? They're just these are the basics. This is the shit, everybody knows, right? This is what differentiates us from so many other countries, right? Core
Right.
freedoms.
Right. That are
But ICE is a
systematically being
form
eroded.
of yeah. ICE is this is a form of ethnic cleansing, right? It's not like people are just being systematically killed, but they're being systematically displaced and sent out of the country, right? First to concentration camps and then to deportation. So it's a cleanse, it is a, a whitening of America. This is the Project 2025 blueprint. This is why ICE is a white supremacy militia. And we should call it as such because that is the mandate. And that is, in essence, what they're executing.
Yeah.
And it's a thing, Minneapolis being such a white city,
Crazy,
there's a
right?
lot of
Makes no sense.
angry, yeah, angry white people out there who, once you start supporting the others, the not, black and brown people, you get lumped in with
Mhm.
them, you become part of the enemy force. But they're ringing the bell saying the rest of America needs to wake up, that this is a Gestapo-like force. I saw a great clip from a guy saying, enough of these, what do you call them? Permitted parades. No more permitted parades. We need civil disobedience. And
No
hopefully
doubt.
that's what Minneapolis is going to bring to the table on Friday because, yeah, ICE is out of control. I guess they're going into Maine neck now also. So there's been some chatter of them starting to make widespread arrests in Maine, another just random, mostly white state, you
Right.
know?
And you mentioned New Hampshire as well.
It's just kind of a weird selection of places to go into, but I guess they don't necessarily, maybe they just didn't see as much value in having the troops in red states that they really
Mhm.
want to fuck with the blue states. So that's where their focus is.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
How do we fight? How do we? I mean, Minneapolis is giving us a blueprint, but how do we expand out their resistance
Right.
and
Which
get
is
that
what needs to
energy
be
in
done.
other parts of the country?
Well, and here's the thing. I saw a guy knock an ICE agent out today in Brooklyn. I don't know if that clip was fresh. I mean, they had on winter clothes, but he knocked the hell out of an ICE agent, and I'm here for it. These people deserve to be assaulted with what they're doing. What they're doing is unlawful, it's immoral, and it has no place in this country. But to your point, Chicago gave us the blueprint, right? We understand how we need to fight that, right? This is not new. And all we got to get the numbers out there. Minneapolis is doing it with numbers. In sub-zero temperatures, they're doing it with numbers. So don't fucking tell me that, you know, you're too busy or you're too cold. You know, Minneapolis is busy too, right? These people are busy too. Minneapolis is not some podunk city. Okay, this is a twin cities with a vibrant economy. We mentioned, when we talked about the boycott, I think there are 20 Fortune 500
Yeah,
companies,
a lot of big companies
you know,
there. 3.5 million people between Minneapolis, St. Paul.
in
It's not a
St. Paul.
small, it's not a
Not at
small
all.
municipality. So, look, the fight has been great. We can't get to Friday quick enough because I really want to see what kind of
What happened?
numbers come out and what the reaction to is to, huge numbers, and whether
Right.
that gives us like a new playbook, whether the economic shutdown inflicts some, pain on
Some
corporate
real
America
pain.
that then, speaks out against what's going on instead of like soft pedaling like Jamie Dimon did over at Davos, like, oh no, we don't like the chaos that Trump brings, but
Right.
like not it won't be critical of him like us common citizens who see these a fucking lunatic, but
Right.
somehow business leaders feel like it's more important for them to protect their assets, right? Money first, country second. Toxic
Yeah.
capitalism.
Yeah. That toxic capitalism is just disgusting for me. The fact that we put money not over just people, but we have we have put money over the democracy. Right? Money is more important than maintaining the American experiment, right? The shining star on the hill. Our corporate profits mean much more than that principle. And I
And
think that's just as disgusting as the fact that we're brutalizing our own people.
it's how we got here, right? Our Supreme Court made the ruling that corporations had the same rights as people. And then therefore corporations could funnel all this money into our political system. And it gave big money more sway over our government. Representatives even more bought than ever. and have more of an opportunity to enrich themselves in their seats. So their constituents come second and the big money comes first. And we lawyered our way and legalized our way into a situation that really just fed back to the success of our businesses at the expense of our people. And
Right.
even with all that, people came from all over the world as immigrants to come to America to work their way up from the bottom to contribute to the society. And now in 2020, pull the ultimate switch on them. And now they're enemies of the state. They're all criminals and they're getting deported. I mean,
Right.
first they're getting locked up in horrendous conditions, and then they're getting deported to, like, anywhere in the world, right? Not even back to home countries. Like, well, the whole continuum of this is so un-American that I don't even understand how anyone at this point is looking at our country and saying, "This is what I wanna be a part of."
Right. And also, my friend, America is moving along like there's nothing wrong, right? We're watching football on Sundays, we got NCAA basketball starting up, talking about the portal, you know. I
Yeah, we
mean,
got
we're
the
we're, we're
Grammys are
Grammys
coming up
coming
on
up.
Sunday.
The only, you know, unscheduled item that's being interrupted is Melania's, debut documentary, right? That's the only like entertainment piece that's been disrupted by, this nonsense. It's insane to me that Americans are moving around just like there's nothing else going on. People shopping at the malls, people eating out at restaurants. It's no big deal to lose the democracy. Like it's no big deal for this guy to keep just snatching bricks out of the foundation of this country on a daily fucking basis and just pissing on America and making us into the laughing stock of the world when we once, were the admiration of the world. It's a joke.
And we're watching Trump raid the treasury and or get bribed left and right. I mean, I think the Times had a story yesterday that he's made that we know of $1.4 billion since he's in the first year of his presidency. And we got to hear that
Wow.
horse shit about how he's like donating his salary, which he said he did the first time. Never actually did. But like, yeah, that's an easy donation to make when you're making 1.4 billion. I mean, you see some of
No
these
doubt.
fuckers that he's pardoning, like he pardoned a meth dealer son of like a MAGA congressperson or something. Like it's the hypocrisy of every statement that, this quote law enforcement effort of ICE is supposed to be about, and the bombing of
Right.
all those boats in the Bahamas because of the quote fentanyl, even though everyone knows none of it's coming from Venezuela. It's coming from other countries. That's a fraud to begin with. But then then he's pardoning, drug dealers basically. But we know he's getting the payoff. The 1.4 billion's a drop in the bucket compared to how much he's really made. He's raiding our treasury. He's stealing our money.
Right.
And we're still going along with it. I love that guy's message today is we got to move from permitted parades to civil disobedience. We have been woefully behind the curve on the civil disobedience.
Right. And, I always thought that we were a country that would fight back, if we ever came under attack, even by an enemy from within, especially an enemy, with a D plus, educational record. Like, Donald Trump is not a smart guy. We have not been outsmarted by any kind of intellectual genius. We've been played. We're not being governed, as you mentioned. We're being looted. And that's the thing that I don't get. How are Americans okay with this guy taking your hard-earned tax dollars and putting them in his pocket for himself and taking your tax dollars and giving them to his family? What has Don Jr. got to deal with the Pentagon? Jared is running around, building in resorts on the Gaza Strip and wherever else, they can leverage their governmental positions, right, to enrich themselves. What did Jarvanka make the last year? What, like $600 million they
600.
raked in? after they got those Chinese trademarks and patents?
and took people's healthcare away,
Yes.
right? I mean, just
Yes.
taking from the people little by not even little by little, chunk by chunk, taking our rights and now our healthcare and our money. And
Yeah.
once again, we've allowed it to happen. Now, politicians can do something.
Right.
I see that Jeffries is not going to support the funding of ICE, but he's also not going to whip the Democrats against it. So he's kind of playing that middle of the road, wimpy strategy on it. I understand that not adding more money to DHS in this current funding is more symbolic than anything that's going to really defang ICE. And I understand the argument that better to get concessions on something you're going to lose anyway, but I still argue against it. I still feel like the Democratic leaders need to make the symbolic gesture of voting against the DHS funding, even if it's just for a few days,
Right.
because their job is to generate energy of the people to incite us,
Right. Right.
inspire us to get out on the streets and protest. And if they just roll over because it's a political, it doesn't have a political benefit in the near term or it could hurt us in November, I think that's short-sighted. And the play right now is to energize the people because you're a resistance party. You're not a political party right now, Democrats. You're a resistance party. So think of every action as to what's going to trigger more resistance. So
Right.
therefore, to roll over on the vote, make noise, make it uncomfortable, vote against it, make there be multiple votes so everyone knows what's being talked about, make the issue bigger and bigger and bigger, and push it into the mainstream so everyone knows what an atrocity ICE is. If you just roll over and say they need to be trained better, like the issue goes away and those people on the streets of Minneapolis are still out there kind of alone. They need to hear
Right.
you and see that you're backing them, even if it's just symbolic. That's where I stand on that topic.
You know,
And what do you think on
Brock,
that?
I'm with you right there, but I think we got to move that energy one step further into DC, like we've been saying for what, more than a year now? We've got to go right to his doorstep, right in front of his face. We have got to make it difficult for them to continue to screw us over. We've got to make it difficult for, these senators to get from their apartments, their fancy apartments in the Washington, D.C. metro area into the building to do work, right? We've got to make it so that they are uncomfortable, just like we are,
Why
right?
do you
Think about
think
those.
why do you think we haven't had a major protest in DC?
I think
In
we're
I mean,
afraid.
we had one, the women march when Trump first got voted on, the
Yeah,
Parkland kids, inspired a huge march for gun control reform. I mean, all those things failed, but they
right.
rolled out big numbers. This one will have much more energy. What do you think? No one's like said, like organized in DC.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't understand it. That's where we need to be. That's where the con man is. So if you had an issue at Macy's, you're not going to take that jacket back to Walmart, you know? Like, they're not
Yeah.
going to refund your money, right? So
Yeah.
why are we marching in Idaho, right? When the theft is occurring in fucking Washington
In
D.C.
Washington. Yeah.
When Dr. King said we need to rally, he went to the mall, right? Like, this is the closest thing to the civil rights, conflict that we've had in our lifetime. Well, the civil rights conflict was in our lifetime at the late 60s, early 70s. And it reminded me, Dr. Madani, the mayor of New York, reminded us of a great quote from Dr. King. What good is being able to sit at a lunch counter if you can't afford a hamburger? Right? Like, they are trying to rule the people by starving us out, by ruining our economy, right? By taking jobs away. And here we have a president flipping people off, telling them, fuck you, as he walks through the General Motors plant because they don't agree with his fucking bully pulpit tactics.
but he's also they're trying to rule by intimidation. And
Right.
that maybe works when it's, 20 agents banging on somebody's door or surrounding somebody's car and pulling them out through the windshield, right? Because that's like 1 against 20. And
Right.
the only way to, sort of counteract that is to show massive numbers.
Right.
That strikes fear. Maybe that makes agents wonder if they're in the right job. The ones that aren't three percenters and proud boys who are like gung ho to, you know, kill anybody who doesn't, look or think like them. But maybe
Right.
some of others in this crazy force who just signed up for the paycheck will be like, hey, do I really want to be out here? Is this the side that, you know, I feel
Right.
comfortable on? Or they just, feel afraid, like they're going to be overwhelmed.
Right.
And we haven't, yeah, it's huge. It's a huge missing piece of this puzzle. Other countries
Yep.
don't miss that. They get
No.
out in the street in their capital. They don't go to
Yep.
some remote region, right?
They
They're
go
out
right
there in the capital. So,
right to the horse's mouth. And that's where we need to be. Hey, before we get out of here, let's talk about Nicki Minaj real quick. Wow, she is an
okay.
idiot. She is one big idiot. She is again way over her pay grade, taking on Don Lemon with this homophobic slur. And she, instead of walking back the comment and trying to reel back in, you know, a huge part of her audience and her base, she says, yeah, the backlash was the point. Now make that make sense, right? But not right. I don't get it either, right? I mean, she wrote that I purposely wrote it that way because I knew that would be the only way to get the cocksuckers to post about it.
I don't know what her end
Insane.
game is. Who's ever going to work with her again?
No
I
one.
mean,
She's going to get deported. Look, she's made it absolutely plainly clear how she feels about African Americans, right? So, as an undocumented whatever she is, she needs to go back to Trinidad.
but if she's agitating someone that Trump hates, wouldn't put Don Lemon in that category because Trump hates just about everyone. She probably will
Right,
get to stay as long as she can be an agitator. So if she's going to play the MAGA game, she'll get to
right,
stay. But I just don't understand how, what, I don't know who she thinks she's going to ever perform for anymore. I guess, her and Kid Rock, she'll replace Ludacris, who was out there with Kid Rock and then did an oh shit. And I think he got off of that,
mhm,
that stage pretty quick. Like,
pretty
who
quick.
yeah, like, who's coming to her concert? Like, she's gonna have less people than the Melania premiere.
Yeah, yeah, and good for her. Adios, Nicki Minaj, donkey of the
Yeah.
day, as they call him on the Breakfast Club.
I mean,
What an act.
she's been this 72 hours, she's been able to be the a-hole of the week. I
Donkeys
mean,
of the
she's kinda
day.
keeping it going.
Yeah,
At some point, everyone's gonna get tired of
yeah,
hearing it, and then she's gonna fade to the background, and everyone's gonna be like, "Have written excuse me,
right.
well, I've written her off."
Yep. Hey, I got a quick hit for you.
Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm really annoyed at how the other day you talked about how, Donald Trump had interrupted and is decaying every aspect of our society, including youth sports, right? Because you've got jackass parents who are talking that crazy shit in their house. Remember, I told you it starts at home. And,
Yeah.
now parents are paying the price. I mean, now children are paying the price. So the Tennessee Holler, which is one of my favorite follows, folks. If you want to follow Tennessee Holler, please do it on whatever platform you enjoy. But there was a youth soccer player who was told by an opponent's goalkeeper that Donald Trump was going to grab him and send him back to wherever he came from. And the poor kid was born in the U.S. Kid was crying his heart out in the car to his parents, and she recorded it, posted it, and the Tennessee Holler put it on their social media platforms. And that's absolutely disgusting. You have so now we have kids, right? Brutalizing other kids, right? Because words matter, right? Just like we heard with Trump, this idiot, the king of word vomit. Words matter and words hurt. So it's absolutely disgusting. I'm so disturbed by it, and these youth programs don't do anything about it, right? They'll tell the director of the youth soccer association down there and whatever. bumblefuck Tennessee, and nothing will be done, right? The kid won't be suspended. He won't be forced to sit out the rest of the season and learn how to be a decent fucking human being, right? Because his parents are going to come and advocate for him. He should be able to say that. I mean, our society is like fucked up because of Donald Trump right now.
Yeah.
Worse than it was before.
This is the America we live in.
Yep.
I'm not surprised by the story. There was something called the Nazi youth in Germany. Like,
Yep.
it's just indoctrination, like you said. It trickles down from the adults. My quick
Yep.
hit is Midas Touch kicked Michael Cohen off their platform. He's kind of backtracked on a lot of his anti-Trump chatter. He's either trying to get a pardon and or make some money by currying favor again. He said that he was coerced by Letitia James, on some of the comments that he made, and he's trying to be like a whistleblower on how you get like, strong-armed when you're, arrested and the like. But Tabitha Speaks had a great, show on the whole thing. She did a deep dive into it. But it just kind of reminded me how wary I am of ex-MAGA people or people who were in Trump's circle who then turn
Yep.
against him because unless they do the full mea culpa and show it over time, there's just
Yep.
still something
Doesn't
about
matter.
them. That's why, like, it's Scaramucci. I'm kind of like, but you were there. You were willing to be a part of it. Or the Sarah Matthews and Alyssa Farahs, the ones that are on TV, like they're a part of Trump's admin, but now they become critics. But like, they bought into a lot of it. Like, deep down,
Right.
they agree with a lot of this shit. So I always have to, yeah, I want everyone to be anti-Trump, so I'll take any and all critics, but I worry some of these people are only critical of a part of the Trump MAGA movement, not the
Yeah.
whole fucking white supremacy enchilada.
Yeah.
So I guess it's
All
good,
right.
Mike.
You gotta sorry about that. You got a quick hit for me before we get out of here?
Quick hit. I heard Jack Smith is.
Mm.
Let's check on this fact. I believe I saw this somewhere. I'm hoping it's true. Whenever I see a news story, if I don't have it triple sourced, like I have to caveat it. Like I don't want to be duped. But I
Right.
saw that Jack Smith may be testifying live tomorrow in front of
Wow.
Congress. Is that possible? I know Trump didn't want the second half of Jack Smith's report released, but I did see somewhere that Jack Smith is going to be testifying live somewhere. Let's check our facts on that. I saw it just before
Right.
we came on. I'm only hoping and praying that that's true. And if it is, I will definitely be watching because he will not pull any punches.
Not at all. Not at all. And he's going to give us the straight talk. If he is testifying, the good thing is because the networks will avoid it like the plague, we should be able to see it on YouTube or C-SPAN, right? So,
If it's live, I
should
think
be.
there's gonna be cameras in there. I think so. I got to look it up again.
Here it
Anyone
is.
who watched this to the end, yep.
I got it right here. Jack Smith will appear before the House Judiciary Committee on Thursday, January 22nd. The hearing is set to begin at 10 a.m. Watch it in the player above, and they've got a YouTube link for you. And this is PBS, right? Remember, Donald Trump said PBS was no longer in existence the other day in one of his ramblings. Sir, you were wrong. Shut your ass up talking about things that you don't know. So,
Does it
yes,
say what committee he's in front of? Who?
Judiciary, House Judiciary.
Judiciary. Wow. Okay. Well,
That ought to be exciting.
yeah. So we'll have some news flow on that tomorrow because
Yeah,
he's gonna be spitting facts, and we know
yeah.
whenever facts come out, Trump looks like the fucking criminal that he is.
That he
So
is.
I expect some of that to come out of tomorrow. So
And you can bet every Republican member of the Judiciary Committee will be trying to contort themselves into pretzels, to cover for Trump, right? So they don't meet his wrath. All right, buddy. We'll keep an eye on that tomorrow. Let's text each other tomorrow during that if we're free from our day jobs, because it ought to be good.
I'm gonna watch. I'm watching
Yes,
one way
sir.
or another.
No doubt. All right, my friend.
All right,
Have a
Mark.
great
Always a
evening.
pleasure. Talk to you tomorrow.
Boom. Peace.